Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, good morning, everybody. Trying to wait for the groceries to arrive, so I'm in a weird space where I can't quite start my breakfast because I don't have all the ingredients, but they're not supposed to be here before the end of the hour or the next hour. So it's like anywhere between now and 2 hours from now, I will be ready to do my thing. So until then, I just gotta wait. So that means I come to you guys and talk about whatever. So that's what's about to happen. All right, so everybody knows Kyrie Irving went to the Sparks game last night. We all know that. And we also understand that there's a situation in place where we're trying to get him to the Lakers. When I say we, I mean every Laker fan that's on board with him coming, who has a voice, is trying to advocate for us responsibly acquiring him. The thing about it is I don't think it's really within his control at this point. Obviously, we also know reports that Sean Marks and Rob Pelinka and Lakers, Nets, representatives will have an opportunity to connect with one another at the Summer League in Vegas, which began last night, I believe. So hopefully they can kind of touch bases and get these talks going in ways that get us something to really, really be excited about. Because it's all hearsay. But what we see is Kyrie's doing his part in getting enriched in Los Angeles. He's been in town for a little while now. It's been reports that he bought himself a home here. It's also been reports that that wasn't true, so take that for what it's worth. But I'm hearing it more places than not. It makes sense for him to try to get himself situated. So even if he hasn't bought the house yet, it makes a whole lot of sense for him to be considering LA real estate at some point, and responsibly, because the housing market is as it is. But nevertheless, he should be looking for a place to stay, bottom line. And so I think that's probably some variation of that is probably happening. But, showing up at the Sparks game, I think for one, the surface level obvious stuff is he's a basketball fan who supports the sport, who wants to see the game because he likes watching the sport. And the women's game, of course, could use our support because they are in that space where they're not getting the revenue yet, but the money is being reflected in how the game's being promoted. So, like, for example, they're in the promotion phase. We've made money, but we can't give it to the players yet. We got to use that money to get y'all to understand what's going on over here. So they're still building. I've watched the league grow from afar, of course. I haven't watched it and followed it, but they're on track. It's going to take time, but as things continue, hopefully, as the economy continues to try to stabilize, I think the WNBA will not only survive, but I think it'll stay in the trajectory it's headed. The women's game is growing, it's evolving, and what we're seeing now is men who are products of women who played, and that I think is a massive deal because it shows us how impactful that game is to our game. And Paolo's a product of that. Mark Williams, I believe, is a product of that. It's several others. It might have been Jaden Ivey. I'm not sure. I think he is also a product of that. So, like, three of the top players in the draft, they are products of the WNBA. So I think that's a big deal. And I think Kyrie and a lot of the players in this league support where the game is headed and what the women are doing for the game. So I think that's a very important point to bring into the situation. That's on the surface. Now, moving on from that, I think it's also something to be said for him trying to let everybody know he wants to be a Laker. Duh. I mean, shoot. That's what you guys are waiting for me to say. He wants everybody to know he wants to be here. It was said, some random fan said that they heard Kyrie tell everybody that he was going to be a Laker soon after one of the fans behind him asked him when he's going to be a Laker. And it was said that the arena erupted after that was said. So it's one of those situations where he's trying to get a feel for us. You know what I mean? He had a lot of love in Cleveland, obviously. He was there winning. Left there. I don't think anybody hated him for leaving there, to be honest with you. It was more so just, one of those situations. And then you move on from there, go to Boston. The energy wasn't great. The energy was bad. You know what I mean? Stepped on the eye. The whole thing just didn't scream love, right? So now he moves on to Brooklyn. That situation was great, I'm sure, until it didn't work out. Obviously, the vaccine situation, everything going on there. I don't know how the fans necessarily reacted to him, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't all love now. You know what I mean? At this point, they probably upset. So I'm pretty sure he's tiptoeing. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations where your name has been smeared in such a way to where any room you walk into, there's gonna be a couple people who may not have the greatest energy for you without really knowing you or have anything to hang their hat on other than what was said about you. And when you have that type of fame, I'd imagine it's not really comfortable going anywhere, really, to be honest with you. Especially when, some of the stuff is like, all right, yeah, I made some mistakes. So it's not like they're just lying about me all the way through. Maybe they're embellishing a lot, but I still got to live with, how it goes. So I think that's what I gather from Kai. He's just trying to tiptoe into Staples Center, see how people are going to react to him, see if we're going to be welcoming him, seeing if we're going to have genuine energy for him or if it's just going to be whatever, seeing how he gets a feel for the building and as a friend for the first time, you know what I mean? He's come in many times to Staples and Crypto as a foe, but how does it feel to have this energy and be in the presence of these fans? And so I think he wanted to feel it. I think he wanted to let Sean Marks know what his intentions are even further. If this is some, ultimate plan to try to still keep the pressure on the Nets to possibly get him them 5 years, I think that's still in play. I think it would be crazy for him not to be willing to sign a contract like that. So I think he would still sign that contract, but I don't think that contract's on the table at all, and I don't think it's going to be for that team. But I think all of this is still part of that too, trying to say, look, I'm already gone, so if you want my talent, you just have to understand that you've lost it. And then from there, what position does that put the Nets in? So, it's a lot, it's a lot. But at the end of the day, he's in LA, so he's going to do what he loves to do, which is watch some basketball and, get used to this LA lifestyle. And he's in town at the right time, obviously, because this weather's been great. The weather's been really, really special out here these last couple of days, so he's gotten the best of it. But what else was going through my mind in regards to that? Just watching him walk through the Laker organization and all that, was the fact that he's going to be reuniting with Bron. And however that plays out, it's not just the presence of having to reunite and work with him, but it's also the presence of distance and time as it pertains to being on his team. You wonder how it's going to be. You wonder if it's the same synergy. You wonder if you could recapture the magic. So I'd imagine something like that probably is in the air, in the atmosphere as well. Just probably wondering if it's going to work with Bron. You know what I mean? And last but not least, you can't walk through Staples Center without thinking about 24, number 8, Kobe beating Bryant, as well as all the others up there, you know what I mean, and the legacy that it carries. It's heavy on a basketball player. I can only imagine that. It's something special for a fan, especially if you root for the team, obviously. It's like, whoa, looking at all that. But for a player, I'd imagine it's like, it's either go time, depending on their personality. It's go time, you see all that, it's like, yep, it's time. Or it's, man, can I live up to that? Or somewhere in between that, I think, for a lot of guys. And I don't know how Kai would view something like that, but I would tell you this: if I have the talent that he has, I'm looking up at that list of players up there, and I don't see any reason why I can't add my name up there. If I get a nice couple years with the Lakers, there's no reason my talent can't get me up there. You know what I mean? And I think a new beginning for a guy like Kyrie Irving in Los Angeles, if he's prepared for all that comes with it, I think will be very, very, very good for him. I think, and I'm trying to temper it, you know what I mean? I have much more extravagant words to use, but I think tempering the expectations is best because you want to be ready for whatever reaction Jeannie has, you know what I mean? But here's what I think. I think Jeannie's apprehensive right now, right? I don't know if she knows Kyrie at all or not. I think she's apprehensive right now. Once she gets a chance to sit with him for a while and get to pick his brain personally, my vibe, and I'm just saying this from a personal perspective, looking at people whose energies are projected toward me without me actually being in their presence. I don't know these people, but what I'm saying is what I get from them on the TV screen, on the phone. I think Kyrie and Jeannie are going to get along once Jeannie gets in his atmosphere and he gets in hers. I think once they get a chance to talk, I think she's really, really, really going to take a liking to Kyrie Irving and what I've seen from Kyrie Irving. I think that. I really do. The way she come off, she's going to be okay with him and the differences that he is, I think. In fact, he might actually be the type of personality that needs to come into this organization, believe it or not. Believe it or not. With all that he's been through and all that she's going through in regards to trying to deal with this situation with LeBron James, I think he has a perspective that he can provide based on his history with Bron and winning with Bron. And that whole situation with Cleveland and all that, I think he has a perspective to provide our situation that I don't think anybody's even considering. Probably only myself. But if he's right, he can help us with whatever's ahead because of the skill level that he has, and ultimately because of what he's already been through and the history that he has and the unique path that he's taken through the league. But the key for him, I think, in my humble opinion, is just being a little more open to what people are going to give him in terms of criticism, because that is coming. So he's got to be ready for it. It's not about whether they're right or wrong. I don't think it's just about understanding it's coming, and the best way to play it is to expect it and to just let it be. You know what I'm saying? Let it be. And then from there, it's not about necessarily proving yourself to be worthy, but more so just letting your game speak for itself. That's all it needs to be. And another thing is, there's been reports in the past of him coming in not talking to players. He would come in and be mercurial or whatever, the personality. They'll treat players well. That's what they're saying about him. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's not. None of my business. Because I'm not in his presence. You know what I mean? So how you treat people is how you treat people. I was raised to treat people with a certain level of respect no matter what. No matter where they come from, no matter what they on. But I was also raised as a fan of Kobe beating Bryant. And he didn't talk to people at all. As we know, Laker fans, there's been reports about him, the way he treated players. Listen, you didn't even want to be on his team half the time. A lot of guys did not like him. You know what I mean? Let's just be real. And I think he came around to understand that wasn't the energy he wanted in the end. It wasn't the energy that ultimately people loved him for when it was all said and done. I think that, if I were in the presence of someone who had taken on all the energy that Kyrie's taken, the differences that maybe he sees the world, you know what I mean, the way that he views things and the things that stay on his mind, as opposed to maybe some things that maybe stay on our mind, on the forefront, that is. It's kind of hard to be cool with people when you think about some of the injustices in this country all the time. You think about the wrongdoing done to your people and all this. Trust you me, I understand that in a way that I don't think a lot of people who talk about sports really get. And I think he's one of those people who take on those things very, very deeply. And so if a George Floyd situation happens, he may need a couple seconds of mental health time. If something horrible happens in his family or something like that, it means more to him to be present. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I think Jeannie gets that. I think Jeannie's the type of governor who will understand that a little better than most, because she did deal with some very different types of personalities. She did deal with Kobe. She has had close relationship with Magic. She has had close relationships with Phil Jackson. She knows different. And that's why I think this is a good pairing, personality-wise, because he's very different. He does take things very, very, very personally, it seems. And she does too. She does too, in a different way. When it comes to social stuff like that, things that matter, she ain't the type that's going to tell you, get back in line and don't you dare take a stand. No, that is not Jeannie. Jeannie's the opposite from what I've seen. She's going to responsibly tell you to do what you should. And a lot of times that's going to be the right thing, I've seen. And she will support, and she and the stances she takes are really, really friendly to the people. And so I think that's a good pairing. And when you consider what matters to Kyrie, the things he talks about, how he tends to be very, very demonstrative about his openness, about how unhappy he is about some stuff. She's somebody who actually listen and be like, I think I get it, but it's going to be about the others in the room. You know what I mean? People who are maybe not like that, who are going to be like, yo, his history is a lot of red flags. And they have their reasons for that. I'm not going to argue in the camera about that. It's up to Kyrie to make that right. And if he doesn't make that right, then he will be leaving our organization. And that's just going to be how it goes. I think that goes for everybody. All players. You know what I mean? But I want to see it work. I hope it works. I think that his skill set is exactly what we need. I think his personality is something we could work with based on the past people we've dealt with. And my groceries have arrived. That's the phone call right there I was waiting for. So I'm going to let you guys go immediately. But I thank you all for watching BDL 44. And I'm out.